One of the benefits of Sprout Studio being an all-in-one is that you can do it all in one place. And that's one of the greatest things that photographers love about Sprout Studio. And one piece of that is email marketing. So let's talk about email marketing a little bit here in this video. There's 3 pieces that we're going to walk through as it relates to email marketing. Number 1 is designer email templates. This is the email itself that you create, design, configure, and then send to your clients. Number 2 is email lists. This is basically how you configure who the email goes to. And then number 3 is email campaign. This is how you build the flow of the emails. So initially this email goes out, and then this email goes out, and a week later, this email goes out. So email designer, templates, email lists, and email campaigns. And in this video, we're going to walk through all 3 of those things. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to hop into Sprout here, and we're going to click the setup button down here, open communication, and then we have designer email templates. This is where you can create your templates in the same way that you can make email templates or contract templates or questionnaire templates. And you can make these templates here, build them for yourself, brand them for yourself, and then reuse them over and over and over again. I always recommend using a designer email template as opposed to creating the email each time in the campaign itself. And you'll see that in just a moment later on. So for now, let's click the plus button and add a new designer email template. The first thing you're going to see is you can start either by copying a template you already have in your account. You can start from scratch, or you can grab one of our starter templates and get going with that. So I'm actually going to go ahead and grab one of these here and use it as a starting point. I'm going to grab this one right here, and I'm going to click the apply template button here. Now you can see when using and configuring an email template here, they're very beautiful. They're very easy to work with. It's all drag and drop. So you can just click here and move things down or move things up. You can click here to edit anything on the left-hand side if you wanted to hide something or change the content, or if you said, hey, I want to have a button on this section, you can go ahead and just turn that on. If you want to add an image, you can turn it on. If you need to delete anything, you can just click the delete button. If you want to clone it, you can clone it. So it's very easy to work with. If you want to add a section between 2 other sections, you can just click that and then add the section there. If you want to add one at the bottom, you can click that and add it here. So it's very easy to work with. And of course, you can always preview it on mobile or on desktop here. So if you want to see what it's going to look like on mobile for your clients, you can. And the other nice thing is that it's all set up and configured so that you have global theme settings here. So if you look here, if I click into theme, I can now change anything here and it'll affect the entire thing. So if I wanted to change the background to this really horrific red, then I could, or if I wanted to go gray, I could, and you can see it affects the entire thing. I'm going to go back to the white that was there before. I can also, again, change the padding, and it changes the padding on the top for all of the sections. If I want to change the padding on the left, I can tighten it up there, but it changes the whole thing. So it's really nice, and it's really easy and flexible. If you're like, you know what, these are too tight for my liking, and you can increase the column padding there. So you can edit that and configure it in one place, and it affects your entire email, which is nice and makes editing a breeze. Same thing here with your font pairings. You can choose another font pairing, or you can add your own custom if you'd like to, but that way you edit it once and it affects the entire thing. Now, you can have some of these override those defaults. So if you're like, I don't want that to change, you can, but that's maybe a little bit more advanced for now anyways. If I go down here into headings, if I wanted to, again, similarly, if I wanted to make the headings a little bit smaller, I could. If I wanted to change the color here, I could. If I want to change the line height, I can change those. So again, it's all very flexible. It's very easy to work with and super configurable. So that is how you work with and edit and build your actual email templates themselves for email marketing. Now, the last thing I want to pop in here and show is if you click into a piece of content here and I open up here, obviously this is just sort of like default placeholder content, but you can use variables in designer email templates in the same way that you can use variables in normal email templates. So if I click variable here, I can now add my shoot variables. I can add a gallery variables. That's going to be useful in just a moment. I can add brand variables. I can add all kinds of variables in here, and it just adds it into this little WYSIWYG editor here in the same way that it adds it to a normal email template. So that's how you also can use variables in these as well. So I'm going to go ahead and click X. I'm going to just call this my simple sample email, and I'm going down here and click save. It's yelling at me because I have a button in there that isn't hooked up, but you can see there it is right there. Now, of course, if I've made that for my brand, I've customized it, I've tweaked colors, I've done all of that. If I add a new one in the future, I can now actually clone that. So there's that one right here. I can click it and clone it and use it over and over again and use it as a starting point. So it makes it really easy to build these designer email templates in a really quick and simple way. I'm just going to delete that extra one right there. So that is the first part. That is designer email templates. We said that there were 3 parts: designer email templates, which is the content of the email; email lists, which is how you configure who the email will go to; and then email campaigns, which is where you build the flow of the emails and where they're going. So let's actually hop in now and go back into the email marketing section of Sprout. And again, you can see here, there's email campaigns and there's email lists. So let's go into email lists and let's add a new one here and set that up and show you how it works. I'm going to call this my wedding list. And I'm going to set this up to automatically bring in any leads that are of the shoot type wedding. So let's go ahead and just click leads right here. And again, you can see how much configuration you can set up here. I'm going to set up, I want the status to only be anyone that I'm in communication with or that is booking with me. I want the shoot type to be of type wedding. And I want the inquiry date to be this year. So I'm going to say after January 1st until, let's just say today. And now for user, I can specify a certain user if I have multiple users on here, but I'm going to leave this like this. And that is basically it. So that is how I auto add contacts to this email list. So now whenever I use this email list to send a campaign, this list will always be updating and always be adding new clients as they match the rules to be added to this. Now, the other really neat thing here is if you wanted to make a list that maybe you had someone signing up on your website for, click here or sign up here to get this download or this PDF or whatever. If you wanted to do a lead magnet, you can also build a sign up form here. So if I click sign up form, you can build a form that embeds on your website and just goes in line with your content. You can have a pop-up form that you have on your website, or you can have a little slide-in bar that slides up from the bottom or down from the top. So if I just add this here, I can then of course click here, edit it, configure it, add images, change the copy, all of that stuff here. And then I can embed that on my website. And then anyone that fills that out on my website will automatically be added to this email list. So email lists are very powerful, very flexible, and it's a good starting point for how you configure who will be getting your email campaigns. So let's click the create button here. And now we have the email list here. Of course, you can add as many as you want. So it makes it very flexible to use these for different purposes. The third part, so again, the first part was the designer email templates. That's where we designed the actual email. The second part was configuring the email list, which is configuring who gets the emails. Now, the third part is building that actual flow of how the emails go out and when they go out and so on and so forth. So let's go in here and let's click add new for an email campaign. And there are 2 options here: single bulk email. That's basically where you create the email, you write the email, you create your list or you add your list, and then you press send or you schedule it, and then it goes out once and then that's it. So that is sort of like a newsletter or an announcement or a one-time promo or something that you just want to have one email for, that you just bulk send this email to as many people as you can. The next option is an email drip campaign. This is more something that is evergreen, it's ongoing. You have more than one email in it. Maybe you have one email that goes out immediately, another one that goes out 3 days after, another one that goes out a week after that. And you want that just to be always running so that as people meet the criteria to be added to that list, they're added to this campaign. They're going to get the emails. 2 days later, they're going to get the next one. A week later, they're going to get the next one. So the email drip campaign is more of an ongoing thing, as opposed to the single bulk email is like a one-time thing. You create it, you write it, you send it, and then it will never send again. So let's create an email drip campaign for this one here. I'm going to call this my wedding nurturing campaign. And then down here under build email list, I'm going to go ahead and choose that email list that we just created a moment ago. And then all of those recipients you would see here. I don't have any recipients in this account, but you would see them down here. And then down here under email messages, this is where you can build the flow of those emails. And you can add the first email, the second email, the fourth email, so on and so forth. So I'm just going to go ahead and set that up right now. So this is now where, again, if you had made it as a template, you could now choose that template and bring that template in and use that, as opposed to having to create it new every single time. So if I now save that, then that will now be shown here. There's email number 1. I can put my subject line in here and I press save, and that's the first email. That's why I advocate for creating these as templates first, because if you create it just in this campaign, you might want to reuse it over and over again. So why do the work more than once? Maybe it would make more sense to make it as a template, in my opinion, and then use it in here as opposed to trying to create it from scratch in here. So that's the first email. Let's go ahead and add another one. Now, the neat thing that you probably saw is that there are 3 options for how these emails can be designed. You can have a plain email, which is just like you opened Gmail and typed an email yourself. You can have a pretty email, which is sort of the same, but maybe just a little bit more styled. Or you can do the designer email, which is what we've been working with so far. So there are some options. If you wanted to have an email that was maybe a little bit more plain looking, you could do that as well. Now, once you've added those emails in here, and again, while you're still in editing mode and you haven't published it, you can always drag and drop them and move them around, and you can configure when these go out. So we kind of said earlier, we had this example of 2 days and then 1 week after that. So I've got this immediately, 2 days, and then 1 week after. And I've got the email list chosen up here. So all I would have to do is create this, publish this, and it would set this live. And now you can kind of see these 3 different pieces now all coming together in this beautiful orchestration. We have the designer emails that are actually living in here right here. We have the email list that is chosen up here. And then we have the campaign that is the whole container that kind of pulls the whole thing together. And so that is how you use email marketing in Sprout, and how you can use Sprout to create your campaigns, your promos, your email newsletters, so on and so forth.